Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, world. I'm Ambassador Terry Earthwind Nichols, along with two great friends and super colleagues, Simon Haigh and Jenny Langren, and we're here to talk about leadership today. Simon.
Terry, it's great to see you. Yeah, I mean, in a time where the world needs huge leadership, we're living in real changing times, and we're going to talk about will we ever see great leadership again? I think, that there's such a need for calm, compassionate, courageous leadership in the world. So, Jenny, it's great to see you. And what do you think? Just give us your thoughts to start with before we dive into the detail.
Definitely. I will definitely give you my thoughts. Uh, so let me invite you into this morning, to my morning. I woke up realizing that I had actually confused AM with PM. And and with people who are, doing their business on LinkedIn, they're kind of always afraid of that happening
Yeah.
when you're working with different time zones. And for me, it was one of those moments to come back to the compassionate relationship with myself. And that's really the theme for this conversation on my end, that we get to include ourselves in our compassion and make it complete. And that makes the world's difference to just the way that we do business. Because this morning, I woke up understanding that something was completely out of my control, right? And that is what all of us are experiencing right now. There's so much that is outside of our control. There's the pandemic, and hey, Simon, there's this war, right? That we're all very concerned with. So, and Terry, of course, I realize that that's very close to home for you as well. So this morning, I get to come back to the foundation. My kids are still asleep in, next door or next in the room next to this one. And I think our need to feel safe sometimes makes us walk outside of our sphere and control to try to control the spheres around us, to try to control the things that we really do not have any power over. So this morning is a reminder for me to take that back to me and remember that it was never about perfection.
Yeah.
It's all about
Sweet.
connection. Yes, it's all about connection. I get to show up where I am as it is, authentic to where I am at right now, and simply connect with the two of you. And that's when we really start co-creating. I can
Yeah.
never control my future, right? I am creating it, being present, accepting and loving myself in this moment to be present with the two of you and create something very, very special together. And I could go on. I have some more thoughts about that too.
Jenny, it's amazing you said that we're not perfect, and I live by a kind of a spiritual mantra, and it's I seek progress in life, not perfection. And
Yeah.
without going too deeply into my own story, although Terry knows a little bit about it, I reached a really nasty rock bottom about 12 years ago in my own life. We all have good times and not so good times, and I had a really tough time. And I remember walking along the beach. I was living in Australia every morning very early, and I was looking at the tide and looking at the waves and looking at the beach and thinking to myself, this isn't perfect. I mean, the waves all break in different ways. The dunes are all misaligned, and yet it's totally beautiful. And
Yeah.
I think that's the key is giving ourselves a break and realizing that each day is a lifetime. Each day
Yeah.
is a lifetime.
Hmm.
And I woke up at 6 this morning. I'll go to bed about 11 tonight, God willing. And tomorrow never exists. It never actually exists. It's just the future now, and the past is previous nows, and try and keep it in the moment. And so I love the way you talk about, keep it within inside, deal with that inner
Mm,
compassion. And
mm.
Terry, what do you think about all that? Do you agree with all that?
I absolutely do. Life is life. And, we're in a world right now where moment to moment happens. And, I teach and I talk about this all the time. Presence is the point where manifestation becomes action. And that is, you let the future go because it don't exist.
Yeah.
You hold on to what you learned in the past, but you don't dwell on it. And all there is right now. And what comes up comes up. Children sleeping in the next room. Me waking up 8 minutes before the alarm goes off this morning. It's 2 a.m. and on the east coast of the USA right now. And it's like, life happens. I know if I close my eyes 8 minutes from now, my world is going to not be good. But at the same time, like a few years ago for you being on the beach, for me, it was a coming to a profound understanding of my life at a point where I was thinking about being done with my life and very serious about it. And I talk about this a lot. And it's just life happens. And it's not easy. It's every day for everyone. I don't care if you're in a $300 million home with no cares in the world, so people think, and it's 3 a.m. and you don't know if your empire is going to crash in 10 hours. That's just really the reality of it, and so being present with the whole thing is really makes us a better leader because you're not going in the future. You're not dwelling on all of this stuff that's spinning around. You just put that back and focus on the present moment and your employee or your business or whatever. Because guess what? Your employees are always looking up to you. Whether you're standing in front of them or you're up on a podium on a stage, they're always looking up to you. You're in a place of reverence, and being yourself is foremost. Right? I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So that's a big part of it, And we're talking about the Great Reset today. How do effective leaders answer the difficult questions? Well, this is one of those difficult questions. How do you stay on job, on point, where is your position? And how do you do it? Maybe we can give some ideas to someone today. Simon?
I was just thinking, we're going through a crisis in the world, and we've always had crises. We've had, financial bubbles and economic and monetary policy mistakes and oil, and we've had a pandemic, and now we're having, unfortunately, we're having a war in Europe. And for me, it's about leadership resilience. And leadership resilience, as Jenny said, comes from within, that honest leadership resilience. And I think it will be best displayed by, those leaders who display clarity of thought, effective communications, and, as I said before, strong but compassionate decision making. Sometimes as a leader, you have to make tough decisions, but as long as you deliver the message in a compassionate way, and I think lead by using all of your brains, and I mean the mind, your gut feeling, and your heart as well, and that can mean that you need to be courageous, and the heart allows you to be courageous and say no and make the right decisions. And so tough decisions need to be made in a really respectful way. And I'm saying this politically, but also from a business perspective, because businesses are now pulling out of shareholdings and all this sort of stuff, and so I think that feeds into the need for leaders to be transparent, honorable. They need to provide a bridge to the future. They need to do what I used to work for a tech company in Silicon Valley, and the CEO used to have this term, democratic decision-making, dictatorial execution. In other words, before you make a decision that impacts everybody, talk to people, get their input. You're, as a leader, you're not an emperor. You're not out there by yourself. You need to hear what people are saying, but ultimately you need to make the decision. Jenny, what do you think about all of that?
I think that Life is so much about change. Change is the only consistent, I'd say.
It is. It is.
And we're very used to seeking out our sense of security in controlling the external, controlling the change. And the future is about allowing, accepting, and coming back to ourselves to find that sense of security in inward trust. And a leader's ability to know himself or herself in decision making. And science is very clear about this. We have an internal system that is thought and emotion. It is about connecting to both of those to hear our own voice in the crowd of all the voices of the world, and to trust that voice, to trust that intuition. So we get to know ourselves. And that goes back very long. I mean, that is leadership, to know ourselves. We know that, but how do we really do that? And I believe, and the sun is shining in, and I'm just really enjoying that right now. So how do we know ourselves? Well, we get to take in that we build a relationship to ourselves like we build relationships to other people. And how do we inspire deep connection and deep trust with other people? We spend time with them. We respect them. We hold space for their needs, their longings. We recognize that there is a space in this world that is theirs, and theirs alone. And we hold that space for them. And in the same terms, we get to hold that space for ourselves. So when I work with clients, I love to bring up this image. I ask them, picture that you have a new neighbor moving in, and you want to spend time with them. And you walk over to their home and you knock on their door, and they open that door with a hateful glare at you. They open that door with resentment and hate and judgment. And I ask my client, are you going to stick around to spend time to get to know this person? And of course they say no. No, I don't feel comfortable. Like, I'm not going to spend time in that place. And I remind them that this is very often how we open the door to ourselves as leaders. And this is what I want to bring, a compassionate leadership in balance with other people begins with a compassionate leadership towards ourselves. Because we get to open that door with curiosity, with the intent to understand, to hold space, to connect, and respect ourselves, our past, and our longings towards the future. And this is how we get to know ourselves. And in that space, we get to develop the tools that we need to cope and handle change. Because as both of you are mentioning, change is always going to be there.
Yeah.
And I just realized one of my girls are waking up, so I'm just gonna have a short connection with her.
While Jen is doing that, Terry, it's amazing that we're all thinking so aligned, because in my coaching practice, I ask my clients to ask themselves 3 questions every morning for 6 weeks. The coaching lasts for 6 weeks. And some of them, I can see some of them cringe when I ask them to ask themselves these questions. And some of them look dismissive, and some of them maybe look as though this is trivial. But I say to them, ask yourself every morning for 3 weeks, do I like myself? Do I trust myself? And do I respect myself? And at the end of the 6 weeks, maybe they don't, but every single one of them up to now has come back and said, I feel a little bit more aware of myself, of my feelings, of my emotions. My thoughts and feelings seem to be a bit more aligned. And Jenny, I think that's kind of what you're talking about, is tapping into that. We all have this inner self, but I think through social media or through upbringing or through diversions or stress or trauma or anxiety, we lose contact with ourselves. And we can't expect leaders to be compassionate, calm, and courageous if they lose contact with themselves. That's what you're saying, I think, Jenny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that, there's a saying, I'm a Native American, and in our culture, there's a saying, you can't give what you don't have. And you have to love yourself before you can give love to someone, or it's just not going to work,
No.
and an effective leader, and a courageous leader, and that type of leader that you want to follow and have trust in, is that person who is really in touch with themselves so that they can be in touch with you. The type of leader, and I've had a few in my life, the type of leader where it's an open door policy. Even when the door is closed, you just knock and see if you can come in, because the door might be closed for a reason, and you knew they were approachable. If they said no, there was a really good reason. And that was comforting, because when you have something that is critical in your thinking, and it does need a response because there's multiple things that can create a solution, you really need a leader. You get to have a leader that you can walk up to and say, okay, here's the situation. As I see it, here's three things that I think are critical, but I don't know where to go with this. What do you say, boss? Right? And feel comfortable that you can say that, or, what do you say, Grace, or what do you say, Bob, or, that doesn't matter either. But know that whatever response is coming back is a fully present person who cares about you and cares about the company, and more importantly, themselves, and that connection.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Here's what I hear you say, blah, 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 blah. Is that right? Well, yeah. Okay. In my experience, I think we should do this. So let's do that. Do you see why? Oh, yeah. Okay, great. That employee is going to be on cloud 9 because they know that they came up with a solution to a critical situation to help themselves, help their community of employees, and help this company. And it was verified by the boss to be the correct thing to do. They're going to work hard. They're going to show up every day, okay? Because they're in a place where achievement, because that is an achievement, okay? Where achievement starts to come to the fore. As the three of us have talked in separate conversations, achievement's a big deal. Once you achieve something, you want to repeat it because it makes you feel good. And then if you're working with a group of people who are all achieving, you can't wait to get to work in the morning. It's so much fun. You're healthier. There's a lot of different things going with that. So yes, Jenny, that was a great point, what you came up with.
Thank you.
Simon?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Jenny.
You go ahead, Jenny.
Well, what comes up to me is that when we know ourselves as leaders, we are always going to pull water from the same well. We're always going to come back to the source because we know the source. We know ourselves at our core. And this leads to a consistency of behavior. And this is what comes up for me when we talk about authenticity, for example. That I am the same person as a leader when I meet my people in the boardroom, just, the same way I behave in the line at the grocery store. So it helps people trust. It brings them that sense of security that they know who I am because I knew who I was to begin with. And it's in that safe space. We know this. It is in this safe space that people feel free to think outside of the box. They are less concerned about saying the wrong thing. They're more about actually enjoying the experience of being within my span of care. And I often, when my clients say, like, okay, so I am going to improve this. They're so focused on their achievements in that, with that filter. And I will ask them, like, okay, I honor that you want to improve this. Now tell me, how are you going to enjoy this? Because co-creation is meant to be something that we truly feel complete joy in, connecting, letting go of the perfect. That doesn't even exist. I don't even know why there's a word for that. Because there's no such thing as perfect. It's all about connection and creation. So it's just magic when we let go of that way and look into the future with a new mindset.
That
Great.
it's so
I just want to jump in and acknowledge the people from around the world. We have Turkey, Philippines, Nigeria, Brazil, US, Canada, Ireland, and Sweden as well. But folks tuning in from India, folks tuning in from all over the world, thank you for being here and being a part of this discussion. Simon, go ahead. Sorry for the interrupt.
I was just going to say, just drawing together a lot of what Jen is saying. I do a lot of work around leadership development, and I was just thinking there, and this is the first time I've ever thought this, but some words are just coming out here, consistent words. And so the 4 key areas of leadership expectations that I talk about, the first one is growth and development. Team members are looking for opportunities to grow both personally and professionally, and they're looking for clear development plans, and they want to be challenged to grow. And so the word clear there jumps out. A leader needs to be clear. A leader cannot be playing mind games. They need to be clear. And that comes from that clarity within. And then the second thing then is trust and autonomy. Team members want to feel trusted. They want to feel that their leaders and organizations trust them to do a good job. And they want to work on teams where trust is present. And so I'll take out the word present there. So we've had clear and present. Then the third area then is inclusion and recognition. Team members want to feel included, and they want to feel a sense that we're all in this together, that we're not just a machine, that we're human beings, and they want to feel appreciated and understood. So clear, present, appreciated, understood. And then finally, leaders need to set the vision and clear expectations, and team members are looking for a vision for a company and a vision for the role they play, and they're looking for clarity. And so clear, present, clarity, appreciation. These things, I think, can only really come, as Jenny said, if you have that inner sense going on. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important. So this stuff isn't just fluffy. This feeds into business. This feeds into leaders. Leaders can only have followers. They can only be leaders if they have followers. And ironically, they can only have followers if they know how to lead themselves. I think that's what you're saying, Jenny.
Yeah. And what comes to mind is clarity is so much about meeting people where they are. It's about keeping our feet firmly on the ground, accepting events, accepting people for who they are on their journey. Vision is so much about seeing what is not yet there. Like keeping our head above the clouds, to inspire. And often with the clients that I work with, they're very close to vision, but it becomes an idealism that you have this picture of what life should be. And it's like you simultaneously live in both worlds. And so what I get to do is complete that. We get to draw from, we have ideals, and a lot of people even see when they meet a person, because I work with a lot of high sensitive people, a lot of high sensitive managers. They will meet a person and they will see their healed self. They will see a person where they will be when they do their inner work, as I call it. And sometimes that leads to confusion, that we're not fully grounded in how people are truly acting and behaving. So I just wanted to connect those two. the vision and the clarity,
Yeah.
and what a balance that creates when we connect those two with each other.
Yeah. It's a beautiful balance, I would say. And that's where leadership comes from. And the other thing that we haven't mentioned, either of us, is ego or lack of ego. I mention this because
Mm.
Marshall Goldsmith, who's been an amazing mentor for me, talks about, and this is his quote, not mine. He says, to be successful in tomorrow's world, and I think we're in tomorrow's world today, leaders will have to embrace global thinking, cross-cultural diversity, understand rapidly changing technology. But this is what I like most: rely more on collaborations and be facilitators rather than experts. And I think that last bit sums it up. A leader isn't a dictatorial ego. A leader is a facilitator rather than an expert. And that requires that inner awareness and that outer awareness as well. Terry, what do you think about that? That leaders need to be facilitators rather than experts. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't know everything. And, when a board of directors will hire a chairman or the president for their company or whatever, they want to know that whatever you don't know, you'll seek out. You won't try to cover it up or lie about it or anything like that. They want somebody who's honest up there who can really connect, and the importance of collaboration. The business model. I'm launching a new book starting today, right after this show, ladies and gentlemen. And it's called Consortium. It's about collaboration, right? The new business model is you work in a bank on one corner, there's another bank on the corner across the street. They're no longer competition. You are both in service to your community. And whatever you do in collaboration with each other rather than take away from, or, don't go across the street. Those are not good people. Well, of course, they're good people. You sit with them in this pew on Sunday or whatever. They're good people then. Why are they not good people now? That's just silly thinking. So being this world that we're in right now, there's a saying, the worst part of a storm is just before it's over. Okay. Well, there's a lot of storming going on around the world right now with pandemics and this war in Ukraine and a lot of other stuff. That's not all bad. Death is death and killing is killing. But maybe we're getting close to the end of the storm. The end of the storm being a truly collaborative world, because we're all thinking in global. I mentioned earlier how many countries are watching us right now live. Not that many years ago, this could not happen. Could not happen. Okay. So here we are. My week, I was telling my business partner just yesterday, I'm going to have a conversation with 4 continents today. Who does that? We all do it because we're all global now. Just a few years ago, that would be just a bizarre concept. Oh, you're crazy, right? Now it's business, So we have to go there. We get to embrace what that means, or it's time to retire. Choice is yours. There's no good choices, no bad choices, it's simply choices. And we can always change our mind. But, coming to presence and getting clear with, I don't want to run a company that has to do this collaborative stuff. And I have to count how many women I have and how many whatever. Okay. Just embrace the fact that higher brains. How is this person that you're getting ready to consider for a position? What's their brain? What's their thinking? Are they going to be part of your family, your team, your community, your company? And are they going to thrive and help you thrive? That is what it's all about. Not whether or not you want to have brunch with them on Sunday. That's not it, So yes, Ivy League schools are amazing, right? And they do great education, but that's not necessarily the given anymore. There are real brains out there who come from a lot of backgrounds, and we as leaders get to embrace that. Simon?
I agree. I was just looking at Jenny there, thinking her face is getting increasingly framed by the sunlight.
It's so
It's like,
strange. I don't really know. Like, I'm going to invite you into my reality right now.
yeah, I was thinking
And
it's semi-angelic. It's like it's
I,
otherworldly.
I
It's
think that I will
it's
just,
it's
be
a
in the
it,
moment and be
but
open
it's
to. I mean, I think that's even better than
yeah, but it's so
I'm
appropriate for
just
this
going to hold it.
conversation because we said nothing in life is perfect. Nothing has to be
No,
perfect. One of the
no.
things that annoys me is when we talk about. I'll come back to your question, Terry, in a second. But a lot of people talk about, oh, we must be balanced. You must be balanced, and I think that puts pressure on people. It's okay not to be balanced. Not being
Yeah,
balanced is the real balance at times, and so it's
Mm,
okay that that the sunlight is obscure, the shadows obscuring. It's okay that we started 1 minute late. These things are okay because the important thing is our intention. What's our intention? Do we
yeah.
have a good intention? And as you said, Terry, back to your question, is are we thinking in terms of thriving, not just surviving, but of course we need to survive. But what are we doing? And I'd ask anybody out there, what are you doing today to help yourself and help at least one other person? What are we all doing each day?
Mm,
And
mm.
I think if we have that nurturing mindset, I think the world, I think, the eye of the storm will pass. That's what I think. Jenny, what do you think?
Yeah. I think that when people understand the value of connection, when they understand that on my own, I cannot know myself. If I was to live on a separate island, I would never have the reference of anything else. So I would not know that, looking at this person's point of view, I find the clarity of where I am standing. So, really, diversity is an invitation. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it has nothing to do with the fact if I, agree or disagree. That's not what it's about. It's about me discovering. So we talk about perfection, and I like to say that life was never, and leadership was never about perfection. It's a journey of discovery and growth. And I am in need of the people who are different. I am massively grateful to people who are extroverted, for example, because I'm very much introverted. And when I realized that it's not an on and off button, like I have everything inside of myself. It's more like I get to explore those parts of me, and meeting people who are really, really talented and good and well oriented around those parts of humanity. They're an invitation for me to explore those parts within myself. So I like to
great point.
encourage people to
Mm,
open up in that sense.
that's a great point.
Lovely, lovely. That's why you're on this with us. Great point. The perspective of three people, is really, the mind thinks and retains information in threes. So having three people to talk about these kinds of things, it makes it a lot easier to really pick up main points for those that are listening, again, globally. Which is fabulous. And thank you, everyone, for joining in. And thank you for all of you that are going to listen to this recording. This has been a wonderful conversation. Our first of 4 conversations, first Tuesday of the month, of each month, now through July. The July show will be Simon and I doing a wrap up of what we've learned from these last times, these last interviews. And Jenny Langren, thank you so much. What you're doing out there, we didn't even introduce you. You're a behavioral scientist. That's unique in itself. And you work with the CEOs, the senior people, and they don't have to be down the street. right here on online is the real world right now. And this is what we do. All three of us have clients all over the world. And that's valuable to those that are listening in. And it was just a profound pleasure to have you on, Jenny. Simon, we got a great start here. Okay, we've set the bar there for some really good conversations. I'll tell you.
No,
Go ahead, Simon.
Jenny, it's a privilege to meet you and to hear from you. And you bring such a calm, assured, but knowledge-based awareness. I can tell that you live this stuff, that you've worked through this stuff yourself. And just to bring it to an end from my perspective, we talked about resilient leadership, or I've talked about resilient leadership, and for me, it's about balancing current imperfection with setting longer-term vision through inspiring. But you can only inspire if you truly connect with others and connect with yourself. For me, that's the summary of what I've heard, Terry. What do you think?
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's what we call a wrap in the entertainment business. We're not here to entertain so much as we're here to give you perspective. And we hope we've done that for you. Please leave comments below. We'll all be watching for them. And we'd be very happy to respond to them. And if you reach out to us personally, certainly, let's do that. Let's have a conversation. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. And we'll see you out there online very soon.